Now for all of you that are out there listening,
I'm glad you know me.
I need you just to close your eyes. And I need you to think about your personal relationship with the Father right now. How good He's been.
We're one big family.
So the question is for us, here in Florida, because there's numbers even to show you in Florida, if you go out and do some research and some Google searches, you can actually see what's actually happening here in Florida. And because we can focus on everything, I want to focus on one subpopulation, and that's our young people. The problem is bigger than just the young people, but I want to focus on our young people. And what I asked some young people to give me, I want to hear their voice. And I said, tell me what you think. And what I heard is, I heard some young people say, and the question was, what has kept me in the church thus far? And what I heard young people say is, a solid foundation created by my mother. I heard allow me to participate in the work of the church. That church is my safe haven, and the principles that was taught by my parents, and I saw it demonstrated by my parents consistently, is the thing that have kept me in church. But they said, but what do we need to do? And the young people that I polled, someone says the church needs to begin to invest in our young people. The church, I heard that we are too routine. And it's very predictable. I heard young people say we get bored with service because it does not relate or address our issues. And we said ensure Christians, and somebody told me that we need to ensure that Christians, these young Christians are integrated in every ministry in the church. Now I had a young lady, and I asked her to, she volunteered, I asked her to give me her voice. And once we hear her voice, we'll go to the panel. But it's about 8 minutes, and I want you to listen to this because, to me, it's one of the powerful things that kind of tells the story here.
I've been coming to church my whole life. I'm 30 years old. And the reason why I started going to church was Rwanda, which is my mom. Every Sunday, every Wednesday, every tent meeting, every fellowship, anything that had to do, even when we went out of town, they found us a Church of Christ to go to. We were in the building. And that's why I started coming to church. I got baptized when I was 13 years old we were having a gospel meeting. And I remember I was sitting there and I was just like, I understand everything that this man is saying. I believe everything that he is saying. And I know that I want to go to heaven. I got to get baptized. So, me and my cousin was like, let's go get baptized. So we went and got baptized. And I think in that moment, we knew what we were doing. We just didn't know what we were doing, because I remember being, the school dances or the dances at the gym, it was a big thing in Lake City. I've never been to one. But I remember I used to be like, Mom, can I go to the dance, or can I go any place else, and she would be like, no, Christians don't do that. And I used to be like, man, I can't wait till I turn 18. I'm not coming to church. I'm gonna do what I want to do, So when I turned 18 and I had my own car, I was just like, no, I'm not coming to church. I'm doing what I want to do. 2 o'clock right out, I'm just coming in. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm just getting in the house. No, I'm not coming to church. I'm not doing anything church related. I've had enough church for a million lifetimes, But my mom used to tell me all the time, tears slow down. Till you need to give God some time. Till you make time for everything else, you need to give God some time. You need to give God some time. And I used to be like, I ain't got time right now. I'm doing what I want to do, I'm going, hey, party, I want it. But You know, sometimes you have to be put very low to hear what God is trying to tell you. Sometimes you have to be so low. You know, and for me, my lowest came when I had to go to prison. Yeah. I went to prison for a very stupid reason, but it boils down to me being hard-headed. And no, I wasn't in prison talking about jailhouse religion, no, none of that, because I had a foundation. You know, and that's when I really understood the verse, you know, train up a child in the way that it should go, and they won't depart from it. And that does not mean that it's not black and white. It does not have a black and white meaning. It does not mean that I'm never going to do wrong. I'm never going to do. What it means is when I get in the hog pen, like my mama say, like the prodigal son, I know when to come home, and I know where home is. And because I had a foundation of home, I knew where I needed to go. Because I was placed somewhere where I had no choice but to hear what God was saying, what God was telling me. You know, like all the situations that I had been into and every other thing, that was really grace and mercy that was saving me in those situations. So, you know, I was able to hear. And since you have so much time to think, you're able to think and process everything that everybody tried to take from Brother Genus, you know, to Brother Spivey. You just, every other preacher you done heard, every other song, you know, I might have been changed. That is like my personal, because I know I've been changed. I know I came a long way, and I know grace and mercy is what has kept me alive. And I know forgiveness and repentance is what's going to give me even any kind of ounce of possibly making it to heaven. So that was my reason, you know. But after my reason started with me and my mom. What keeps me in church is when I was so low, it was like then God chased after his children. Had I not been placed in a situation where I needed to acknowledge and be thankful, and even when I came home, you know, I started doing things that I should not have been doing. But when I got low again, I knew where I wanted to go, and that's when it occurred to me, you know, that Jesus never leaves us. We always leave Jesus, and I'm thankful that he does not leave us, and that he does give us the opportunity to come back. Years ago, I can see the end. I can see heaven. You know, I can see it as a real place in my mind that I'm trying to strive to get to. When I come to church, I feel better about myself because I know that I'm making an effort to be better. Church, you know, comes on Sunday and I'm sitting there and I get the word, and by Wednesday I'm ready again because I need some more word to help me keep my attitude in check, to make me keep everything else in check, you know, because a lot of times my attitude, I go from 0 to 100 real quick. And if I'm able to just think about what my mama would say, or if Uncle Phil knew, you know, how would he react to that? Or, you know, it's like Jesus is right here, you know. So that's what keeps me in church. So I started because of my mom. What keeps me is because I know that going to church makes me a better person. Going to church, I have an opportunity of being able to go to heaven. And I have 2 daughters. I have 2 daughters who look at me. And when I lay there and I cannot get up, they want to know, Mama, why are we not going to church? Why are you not getting up? Mommy, I want to go to church. Can I wear my dress? I want to go to church, you know? And I cannot be an example to my kids unless I'm being the best example that I can be. And everything, all of going to church all the time, how my mama had us, I have to do the same thing so that I can give my children a foundation so that they know if they ever in a situation like the hog pen, they know where to come to. The thing I feel like to do better, or if we had to change something or something like that, is we have to live what we talk. You know, sometimes you come to church and you feel like as soon as you walk in, you're being judged by people who've never done anything crazy in life. And that's not, you want to be in a place where you gonna tell me when I'm wrong, but do it out of love. Don't do it in a condescending way. Don't do it in a way that discourages me. Don't do it in a way that's so disheartening that I don't want to come back anymore. But let me know that I'm wrong. Show me what I can do when I'm wrong. And give me some love while you're doing it. I feel like since we live in a world of YOLO, and we're competing with the you only live once, and with all the preachers who are letting everyone do whatever they want to do, and it's okay. I just feel like the only thing, we have to be convicted in our heart. If we are convicted in our heart, and it shows, then more people will come. Because the thing is, you can't change what's in the Bible. It's black and white. We can't just hone in on one sin. We got to call out all the sins. We can't just hone in on the homosexuality. We can't just hone in on the fornication. You know, we gotta get in on everything. Because people feel like sometimes, especially when you live in a world of YOLO, and you live in a world where you have so many different people that are preachers allowing and telling people that it's okay to love who you want to love, do what you want to do. You know, you just got to stand firm. I think as far as my building, we can try to reach more people like in the community. But we got to get them in the door. You know, you got to finesse them. And once you get them in the door, we can go from there. But I hope this is what you asked me for. Excuse me, for my appearance, even though I do have
minister, young families, young single parents, youth ministry, marriage ministry, all of the above. So we're working together there at Northside Church of Christ.
My name is Freeman White. I'm with the Liberty City Church of Christ as chief servant of the church. And I have been in ministry now for over 70 years. And we have to be the ones who watch thou in all things. So that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, Brother Freeman, I may ask you why you get started. Tell me whether or not this issue that we're talking about today, in your 70 years as a laborer in the church, do you see this is an issue for the church today, and if so, why?
That's a no-brainer, and it's a necessary question because many folk don't believe it. For those of us who are in the ministry, we know it's true. For instance, 5 years ago, we couldn't get our youth, we didn't have space for them. And nowadays, we wonder where they are. And there's a number of reasons why that is, and that's what we're discussing today. I believe that if you only have adults in your church and you don't have the youth, your church is dying. And our church is near death because of that.
Brother Al, thank you. Brother Al, you worked with the 10th Avenue and the youth there, and now you're working with the North Side and the young families and the youth. Do you feel that this is a real problem, and why?
Most definitely. God used my wife and I years ago in the 90s to build the young adults ministry, youth ministry at 10th Avenue in Gainesville. There were many, they from what we saw, they really wanted sincerity, wanted people to be there for them in their time of crisis, or as Brother Clinton calls it, a defining moment. So we saw that, and God used us to do some good. And at Northside as well, we see that our youth, and many times I'm just gonna jump out and say it. One of the biggest problems is the parents. We talk about the kids being the problems, but the parents have their own problems, and none of us are perfect. But if we, and I include myself, if we as parents recognize that we have responsibility to raise our children in nurture admonition of the Lord and live it and not just say it. You know, a lot of times we're telling them one thing and living a different thing in front of them. From our perspective and what we're hearing from the youth, that's something that's happening. So it is a problem. There are many parents who are doing all they can, but it is a problem, and we as leaders and faithful members of the church need to stand in the gap where parents may have some issues. So that's what we're trying to do, stand in the gap and help our youth.
Now, brother, thank you, brother Jackson. Brother Howard is an ex-Navy person, not retired Navy, but he left the Navy. He's an FBI agent, but he also is an Alabama fan. I mean, so we have to forgive him for that. But Howard has worked with me many years with our young people. And I know he's very committed to our young people in that age group. Howard, tell me, answer that same question, and you may need to elaborate a little bit on some things that he's very opinionated, so you had to kill.
First, to be clear, because I'm still active in the reserves, Navy Reserves. Now I'm an agent, although I do work for the FBI. And he is an Alabama fan, so roll tide. I know we get a country, so I might need to ask But it is a problem. It is a problem. And you know it's a problem. Well, I noticed it was a problem when you look around, when we find brothers to do the leadership roles in the church, to work in the church. And I look around and it's very few people. They're my age. They're either older or much younger. So there is a huge gap, and like the brother said, if you don't have kids in your church, you're in a dying congregation. What I think the problem is, the young adults, they're not rooted in the gospel. And what I've noticed is, especially those who've grown up in the church, those that are added to the body when they're 8, 9, 10 years old, and they hear these sermons, they hear these Bible lessons over and over again, they become familiar with them and they tune them out. They continue to grow up, they become young adults, and they're walking around 19, 20, 22 years old with an 8-year-old understanding of the gospel. And it doesn't take much for Satan to get them, to distract them, because they're not that rooted, even though they've been coming. Mom, dad, grandma, whoever's been bringing them to church, they're not growing in the gospel because they're tuning a lot of it out. I don't want to get into it just yet. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I see that being the problem. And one of the things that I do when I teach, occasionally we'll do a role play. I'll come in to the class and I'll say, you guys are all Christians. And first of all, we have an understanding. If you've been doing something for 10 years, you should be pretty good at it. They all agree. So most of them have been in the body for 10 plus years. So I'll come in the classroom and I'll say, hey, my name is such and such. And I create a scenario. We're on your job, we're at your school. Teach me the gospel. And you'll be amazed of all the students, all my class, all my students. The hesitancy of it. Nobody wants to speak up. So I have to push the scenario along. And they stumble because here you have an adult trying to teach and explain the gospel to another adult with a child's understanding. And the things that they say, they're not even really convinced and convicted of. So it's hard to get them to remain rooted in the gospel now that they're grown and nobody's making them to come to church and they can make decisions for themselves. They're not going to come. So it's definitely a problem and one that we definitely need to address.
And Brother Spencer, you're not just here because you know what, you're a young man. You've been in the military, right?
Yes.
You just got not long out of the military? A year, just out of the military, and you've grown up in the church, right? So tell me what you looking at your peers, looking at people that you've grown up with, some that have fallen away since you've gone. What is this? Do you see this as a problem from your perspective?
I do believe it's definitely a problem because you can look. It's you can look and see, you know, some people that they're with you growing up, and you look today and they're all over the place. I mean, so I definitely believe it's a problem. You don't want me to go.
Go.
Why?
You can tell me why. You can tell me why.
Yeah, well, I think part of the root of the problem is, well, of course, you know, it starts at home, and as you already stated earlier, that with parents supposed to train up a child where they should go. And I think the parents haven't done a good job of teaching the child or the children to fear God, and so they grow up, they're just going to church, but they don't really feel God. It's not real for them. You know, they haven't really had the experiences of the parents, or I mean, they just can't relate to things of the Bible per se. They haven't I mean, it's there, but you know, it just hasn't become real to them yet. I think that's part of it.
So thank you so much. So I got a question, and